Did you want? I don't think we're going to need it, but go ahead. Quickly, just in case.
Let me know when we're ready to go, Ed.
Look, it's loading right now. We are live. We apologize. We were running a little bit over an executive session prior to the meeting, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Mulholland, I believe the floor is yours.
Okay, everybody, we're going to call this work session of the Glendale School District Board of Directors to order. If you'll stand with me to salute the flag, remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right, that is really hard to do online, I must say. Get lots of feedback. Anyways, Mrs. McGarvey, please call the roll.
Richard Cree.
Here.
Brenda Dubler.
Here.
Jeffrey Gallagher.
Here.
Richard Gates.
Here.
Kenneth Spencer.
Here.
Dr. Andy Mulholland.
Here.
Thea Sinclair.
Here.
Kay Stiver.
Here.
Gary Wallstrom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Patty. First up, we have a presentation to the board from Francine Endler, the Executive Director of the Central Intermediate Unit number 10.
Dr. Endler, welcome.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here with you today. I wish I could have made the journey in person. Glendale is part of one of my favorite parts of this part of the state. I am a Cambria County girl originally, so I want to just take a few moments of your time. Again, my name is Francine Endler, and I am the new Executive Director at Central Intermediate Unit 10. I joined the team at IU 10 on July 1st. And I want to thank all of you as elected school board members for all that you have been doing for your district over the last year. Nobody could have imagined what was going to roll out. And I know school boards across the Commonwealth and across the country have worked very hard to try to figure out all of the challenges and mandates. So on behalf of the intermediate unit, I want to thank you for all of your work. I wanted to take a few minutes with you this evening, and precious few minutes, because I know you have a lot of work to do, to share with you a little bit of information about IU 10 and specifically the programs and services that the Glendale School District has tapped into from our intermediate unit. As you are aware, IU 10 is one of 29 intermediate units in the Commonwealth, and we serve Center, Clearfield, and Clinton counties. So we have a big footprint. We go from your part of our area, our footprint, over to Lock Haven and Keystone Central School District. So we cover a wide region. For the 2021 school year, Glendale has purchased services from IU 10, and your teachers and administrators have participated in professional learning. So in terms of special education, we have provided, or you have contracted for 16 hours of services, hearing services for students who need those, 17 hours of services for vision support, and 72 days of social work services. Additionally, you've contracted for physical therapy and occupational therapy services. At this time, I don't believe that you've accessed them. You haven't had a need, but you do have a contract available with us should that need arise. In terms of our curriculum department, you've contracted for us to provide 20 days of instructional coaching to your staff. We have done 10 in-district trainings, professional learning trainings, with a total of 202 attendees. 92 Glendale teachers have attended 16 IU 10 curriculum trainings since July of 2020. We completed a math audit for your district and provided feedback. We have done 5-day back to school series for all of you. And our training and consultants, our TACs, who work in our special ed department, have conducted trainings, and 47 Glendale teachers have attended 19 of those trainings done by our TAC consultants, and that TAC has provided 10 in-district trainings to your staff, and 60 people were in attendance. So we're very honored to provide those services and partner with you in providing education and services to the children in your community. As many of you may know, we do have a governing board that consists of a representative from all of our member school districts. So we have 12 member school districts. So Glendale does have a seat, a standing seat on that board. We also have one at-large member, and that is currently held by a board member from the State College Area School District. This is a very exciting time for IU10. I actually just got off of a comprehensive planning conference. So we're in the process of doing a comprehensive plan. We're embarking on a facilities project. I don't know if any of you have had the chance to visit our offices at West Decatur, and they are aging gracefully. And so it is time for us to look at those facilities and build a facility that will continue to serve our community and our greater IU10 footprint. I'm hoping part of my reason for coming today is to introduce myself, and also hoping that there may be somebody on the board who would be willing to serve on our board. I know that Mr. Gates had done that for many years at IU10, and we do realize that it is a time commitment in a very packed and busy schedule that you have. We know that that distance can be an issue with coming to our meetings. What typically happens in a non-COVID world is that we have a meeting once, like we stagger them between our West Decatur office and our office in State College. So if you're coming from Glendale to State College, that is a big drive, and we appreciate that on top of a busy day. What has happened for us that's been very beneficial through the COVID era is that we have become very adept, much like you have, in running board meetings virtually. And even post-pandemic, that will still be an option for our board members to attend virtually. So hopefully, and that's helped because again, we have people coming from all areas of a 3-county region. And in the winter weather, that's an even more challenging commute. So the option would be to participate via Zoom. And we only have one board meeting a month, and it's typically the last Thursday of the month. So I know that was very quick, but I do want to be mindful of your time. If there's any questions that I can entertain right now, I would be happy to do so. If working with the intermediate unit speaks to your heart on any level, I would be happy to sit down and talk to you about how I believe that we could use your skill set. Any questions or anything, Mr. DeSabato, that I can help you with?
No, I was just waiting for all their hands to go up to be the rep, Francine. I wanted to take the first hand up, but we appreciate you joining us tonight and the services you provide to the district, and we do want to be involved, and we'll work something out here. So does any board member have any questions?
Yes, I do. I was wondering, I think I heard her saying we haven't used the physical or occupational therapy, probably because of this COVID. But do we have one lump payment, or do we pay as we use? And I thought if we're not using this, would that decrease our payment?
You pay as we bill you as the services are used. I don't have what I have, the notes that the information that the special ed department had given me is that there is a contract to provide those services. However, you have not used them yet this year. So I can get additional specifics, but we do send a bill for services. I can provide those specifics to Mr. DeSabato, and he can give them to the board. Would that be okay?
Yep.
That's fine. I was just wondering if it made a difference in the payment. That was all.
No, it's services that's provided, Theo, for us. So we only pay for what we use.
Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate the opportunity to join you, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Francine.
You're welcome. Bye.
Next up, we have a presentation to the board from Aaron Eckert from the PA School Boards Association. Aaron, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
All right, great. Always like to start off on a good note. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron Eckert, and I'm your Member Services Manager from the Pennsylvania School Boards Association. I'd like to first thank you for including me on this evening's agenda and for your continued membership in PSBA. This evening, I'd like to give a brief reminder or an update of what's going on at your membership organization. PSBA hits the ground running in this new year, with professional development and advocacy opportunities available for school directors. Through the rest of this school year, you can join other school directors from across the state to join the complimentary All School Directors Monthly Exchange Zoom meetings. These Zoom meetings occur on the third Thursday of each month, starting at 12:30 and run for about an hour, and are open to all 9 members of the board. You can listen in and interact with school directors from across the state for cross-district networking and discussions on education hot topics, legislative updates, and advocacy strategies. The next meeting is actually this week on February 18th, and we will be joined by PSBA's Chief Advocacy Officer, John Callahan. Registration is open now on the PSBA website at www.psba.org. Moving right along, you can tune into the latest digital workshop series, The Essentials of Board Leadership, which is also running through the spring. This complimentary 4-part series corresponds to the 4 foundations of board leadership responsibilities included in the newest PSBA publication, Essentials of Board Leadership. The next session is on March 10th with a focus on board professional development and is running at 2 times, at 12 and I believe it's 6. You can register for either one of those sessions at the PSBA website. Moving forward into the spring, a thought I think we all are clinging to as these temperatures are starting to drop in February. March 22nd is PSBA's Spring Virtual Advocacy Day, complimentary to all PSBA members. The day will center around contacting legislators to discuss critical issues affecting public education. Registrants will receive the meeting invitation with a link to the Virtual Advocacy Day website, which contains talking points, a link to locate contact information for your legislators, and any additional information that you may need. Please join us and make your voices heard through the halls of the Capitol. Registration for this event is open on the MyPSBA portal at www.mypsba.org. In addition to these upcoming events, PSBA continues to provide its members with great services. This includes some of our classic offerings you may be familiar with, such as our policy services, our education and training team, and Career Gateway, as well as board self-assessments, paperless job description service, compensation studies, digital superintendent evaluation tools, crisis communications, a complimentary 24/7 hotline that districts can use as a tool to assist in the occurrence of a serious incident or negative headline, and our newest offering, Energy Solutions, a program that is strategically designed to help schools reduce energy costs and their environmental impact and to improve energy infrastructure performance, typically at no out-of-pocket expense for the district. This time, I'd also like to thank the board for all the hard work that you've done this school year. The members of each local school board are a key part of a district's administrative team, making informed decisions that shape public schools and provide a pathway to success for every student. Board service is an unpaid position, and the majority of school directors cite their desire to give back or contribute to public education as their main motivation for service. The impact of the coronavirus pandemic has added an additional challenge to school boards as they determine how to best provide for the needs of students and their families during this in this new environment. From navigating virtual board meetings such as this one, to supplying students with needed food and technology during remote instruction, boards are tasked with making critical decisions quickly with the best information available. I'd like to thank the board for your dedication for the students of Glendale. Your efforts do not go unnoticed. As I conclude my remarks, I'd like to thank you again for allowing me on this evening's agenda, for your continued membership in PSBA, and most importantly, for all the work that you do for the students of Glendale. I'm happy to take any questions at this time regarding any PSBA events or services, but I just want to conclude again with thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. Thank you very much, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
You too now. Bye-bye. All right. So let's get right into the review of committee business. Wait, nope. I'm lying. I almost forgot the most important talk of the night. Mr. DeSabato is going to give us the administrative team update on COVID-19. Mr. DeSabato, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, we're taking over your screens. We're going to put a PowerPoint up there, very similar to like we've done in the last. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Okay, February 16th, COVID-19 update. We finally have positive news to pass along to the board. It seems like we were in an area where the numbers were rising and then holding steady for a period of time. But if everybody looks at this chart, if you look back to December 7th, in Cambria County, positivity rate was 19.3, 16.2 in Clearfield, 15.4 in Blair. And those numbers have declined steadily over the course of those 2 months. On 2/12, they released new data where the positivity rate in Cambria County is 4.3%. This is a really, really good number. It's below the 5 that the state has told us to monitor. That puts you, when you're above 5, puts you in the substantial range. So Cambria County is now in the moderate level with the 4.3%. Really remarkable. At one time in December, Cambria County was the second highest PCR rate, positivity rates in the nation. So we are seeing a positive decline in Cambria County. Clearfield County, 5.3% currently. They need to get below 5%. But another really positive sign that we are heading in the right direction. And the Blair County seeing positive numbers as well at 7.6. We think the next numbers will come out Friday. Georgia, Friday, thumbs up, right? Friday is the new numbers. But when these come out and we get into a moderate level, we're confident that we're going to have the ability to do more and more for our students in our community. So this is a great thing for us to see. It's something we can't control. We had no control over from the beginning, but it's finally a positive that we're looking at in regards to this pandemic. Next slide, please. Where do we stand right now? Actually, we are really in pretty good standings in regards to staff. We've got 1 elementary staff positive. And because of that positive case, we have 2 staff in the elementary that are quarantined. We have 1 high school staff quarantined for close contact, and then 1 elementary school and 1 high school student positive quarantine, and they are of the same family. Next slide, please. Just a review of our COVID current quarantine practices. This seems to be changing on a regular basis. Department of Health and CDC, they come out with these different things. So what do we do when we have positive cases? Positive cases have to isolate and quarantine for 10 days. Close contacts must quarantine for 14 days per the Department of Health recommendations for COVID variants in different congregate settings. The Department of Health currently permits earlier return from a quarantine on day 8 if you're asymptomatic and with a negative COVID test completed between day 5 and 7. These are all changing, so we want to give you the most recent updates with this. So next slide, please. What's close contact? We have continued conversations with them on a regular basis, but they're telling us anyone who has been within 6 feet of a positive case for more than 15 minutes over a 24-hour period, even when the masks are on. So contact tracing includes 2 days prior to the start of symptoms or a positive test. So that's what they're asking us to determine when we have positive cases, of who these people have been around and for how long they've been around. And even with a mask, sometimes with 15 minutes cumulative over a 24-hour period, they have to be quarantined. So next slide, please. Immunization has been a big struggle for us. We're currently still in the 1A frame in the state, which means that over 65 or current medical condition. So to date, we have 20 Glendale staff that have received the COVID vaccine. Those who have received it have qualified under the 1A guidelines as set forth. You have to be 65 or have a qualifying medical condition. The majority of our staff all fall under 1B, which they have not yet opened the door yet, and so we continue to be on a holding pattern with that. We do have plans to get that offered to our staff as quickly and as efficiently as we can. Either they can do it on their own at local pharmacies or doctor's offices if available, but if we do have that connection with patent pharmacy, that when 1B opens up, we'll be able to have something set up quickly and efficiently. So what are we doing now? We're still doing 50-50 hybrid. And it's not ideal, but we've been able to do a pretty good job. We've had Monday, Tuesday, Group A, Cyber Wednesdays, Group B, Thursdays, Fridays in the elementary. In the high school, we've, next slide, please. In the high school, same format, Group A, Monday, Tuesday, Cyber Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for kids. So we've been continuing to do that. Our teachers doing a great job with virtual learning. Our students are becoming more efficient with it. Nobody thinks it's the most ideal thing. We know that the best place for our students is in the classroom with their teachers in our buildings, where we can connect with them, build relationships, positive face-to-face relationships, and ideally is what we ultimately where we want to get to. Next slide, please. So possible considerations tonight. We feel really good about the numbers. Everybody's hopeful that we can transition very soon to some sort of change to in-face instruction, hopefully as early as next Monday. So we looked at how some other schools have done this, and they've done it in two ways. They've done phased reopenings. So the CDC and the Department of Health is saying, you know, there's less risk in elementary schools. So some schools have opened up their doors for elementary first. And we could surely do that next Monday, is open up the doors for full elementary reopening on 2/22. And they've left hybrid in the high school setting with a full opening then the following week. So you're transitioning into that process. I only share that with you is because I know other schools have transitioned like that. What's the benefit? Well, I mean, ultimately we want everybody in here, but the benefit would be that you're slowly transitioning and less kids on the bus. It gives us more space in our cafeteria for lunches, and we continue the virtual. That's the pluses that I can think of in our admin team thought. Or we look at 2/22 as the possibility that we're back in moderate level, and then we can open the doors to both buildings with full contingency of students and staff. That being said, we still have to follow our continuity of education plan that was approved by the board. The safety protocols and guidelines that we put in place, the social distancing, the contact tracing, temperatures as needed, the cleaning and disinfecting by our outstanding maintenance staff, all the things that we've developed said is important for us. The spacing in the cafeteria and using other spaces, distancing at the lunch lines, all the things that we've said were important. We still got to continue that, but we would be willing and be able to bring kids back in here, and would still have to follow the Department of Health and the PD guidelines. And if the potential's there that we have positive cases that come along, we would handle them under the guidelines that are established, and would have to have the flexibility to, you know, quarantine students or staff as needed through cases, and transition to virtual learning if was needed. We hope we don't. We're getting into the end of February. Hopefully we transition to 1B. We get the immunizations coming quickly in the next step. But that's where we're at. We're looking to have some conversation tonight from the board. I know everybody's saying, hey, let's open the door, but let's turn it over to Doc Mulholland and our board members for a brief conversation of the status and hear from our admin team that's on here as well.
Thanks, Ed. So the trends that Ed spoke of is kind of what I've been seeing in my office as well. There's definitely been a downward trend in COVID positivity rates over the past couple of weeks here. So that's very promising. So I think we're positioned much better than we were 2 weeks ago to go ahead and open the schools back up. In my opinion, I think we should just go ahead and plan on a Monday opening of both schools and try to get the kids back in. Now, I'll say that with this caveat, and I'm sure there's lots of members of the community watching right now. The key to this and the key to success moving forward is we need the community to buy in on trying to keep everyone as safe as possible. What I mean by that is if your students are ill that day, with even minor symptoms, keep them out, check with their physician, get them tested. I've seen COVID having very, very minor symptoms. I've seen COVID kill people. So the spectrum is large. Now, children generally are faring very well with it, so their symptoms may be very minimal. So if you have any question at all about whether your child may have some symptoms or not, play it cautious, get them checked. If they check out fine, get them back in. If they're positive, then, we're going to have to quarantine them. And I would say the same to the staff as well. If you're feeling not well that day, you suddenly wake up and you can't taste your toothpaste, don't go into work. Okay. Get checked. Don't be proud about it. Follow all the rules while you're in school, social distancing, masking, keep all those things in mind. And that way we can keep moving forward, because if we have a bunch of cases, then we're mandated to revert back to hybrid, which nobody really wants to do. So the key to the success here is going to be the community buy-in, and our staff and our teachers and admin team also buying in that, if you're not feeling well, don't go in, get checked, and that way we can keep the place open. So that's my 2 cents anyways. So I'd like to go around to the board and get their thoughts as well. So Mr. Menser, you're next up on my screen here. So I'm going to go ahead to you for your comment.
Yes, I agree. We got to get these kids back to school. Everything turns out, and the cases continue to drop within the next week. I guess we're going to hear on Friday, did you say, about the percentages for Turkville and Cambria County?
Yeah, I believe that's what they said. That's when the new numbers come out.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to see us all go back to school, full complete school learning on 2/22 of 21, next Monday.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Menser. Let me see who's next on my list here as I pan across. Looks like Rick Gates, you're up next, sir.
I agree with going back. I know a lot of schools are doing the phased in the high schools, and I can understand the phase if it was maybe a 3-week phase where you're gradually bringing kids back. I don't know that 1 week's going to make that big a difference. The statement I made at our meeting 2 weeks ago is about lost time, and these kids can never make up this time that they miss with quality in-person instruction. If it wasn't that important, then cyber school and virtual learning would be the way to go. Public schools wouldn't be needed, but these kids need this instruction. Their parents need it, not only educationally, but socially. So I'm in agreement that we go back both classes on the 22nd.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Okay, you're up next.
I'm in agreement, I think. And just kind of to reiterate what Dr. Mulholland said there, we can't do this without the support of the community. And that also incorporates the parents, the grandparents, the friends, the neighbors, everybody in this community, trying to also help with the social distancing, the protocol, following suit, wearing their mask, etc. I want nothing more than the students be back in the classroom, and the teachers to be in the classrooms, but safely. So, the numbers to me are going in the trend that we need to see them go. And I feel comfortable saying that I think we should start elementary and high school both back for face-to-face learning on 2/22.
Okay, thank you, Kay. Jeff, you're up next, sir.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm in agreement for going back for full time for both high school and the elementary on February 22nd.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Theo, what's your comment?
I'm all in for going both the high school and the elementary going back. I would have voted for that last month, but I was worried about the staff and the substitute. But as I had stated before in other meetings, I think all unassigned classroom teachers, not classroom teachers, staff, can go in and help monitor. And I would go so far as to say that I think they should be paid to go in there and monitor those other classrooms when the teacher can't come in, because I don't want to see them shut back down.
Okay, thank you, Theo. Mrs. Dubler, you're up.
I agree with the full reopening for the elementary and high school. Parents have the option of keeping their kids home. We've said this from the beginning. You know, that doesn't mean that parents are not comfortable. They can keep their kids at home and stay virtual. I too want to see some kind of option that we have hopefully worked out with the staffing issue so that we can continue to stay open regardless if a staff tests positive or not. So I don't know if that means maybe pulling special teachers or whatever. I know I've heard that from other districts, but we need to absolutely have some kind of plan in place so it's not a teacher issue why we're shutting down again.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Mr. Cree, you're up next.
I am also in favor of a full return, both high school and elementary, on 2/22. It's time to get the kids back in the classroom.
Indeed, Mr. Cree, I agree. Is that, I see one that says iPhone. Is that Mr. Wallstrom perhaps? Or isn't he here tonight at all?
I don't think he's here, Doc.
Okay, so I think I hit everybody then. Did I miss any board members? I don't think so. Okay. So, Ed, it sounds like you have your answer there. It sounds like the board is fully in support of opening up again both schools as of Monday.
Now we just pray for good weather because it doesn't look real positive in the next couple of days.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it's doing up there, but I'm looking out my window here now too, and it's snowing pretty good right at the moment. So, okay, let's see. Let's go review of committee business. First up is athletic committee. Mr. Wallstrom isn't here. So Theo, would you mind doing athletic committee tonight, please?
All right. Consideration to approve the resignation of, I don't know that, Gideons as assistant varsity volleyball coach and to advertise for the vacancy. Number 2, consideration to retroactively approve Mark McMillan and Jesse Weld as athletic volunteers on the varsity wrestling. Consideration to approve the advertisement of the athletic trainer position.
If I could just say that athletic trainer position, that's the one with the full-time one. We advertised last year, we didn't have it. I'd like to re-advertise and see if there's any candidates out there. We struggled over the last year and a half with that, so.
Okay, does anybody have any questions under athletic committee?
Mr. DeSabato, I know that with that athletic trainer, is there any way to even, I don't know if you're allowed to do it or not, but like I know you've talked to other companies, like like other therapy companies or companies that offer athletic trainers, to see if we could gain an athletic trainer that way. But we thought about maybe even, I call them headhunters or a recruiter. Is there a source, of that nature that we could reach out to and see if they might have any success helping us to advertise that? Are we allowed to do that? I don't know if that might be a question for Miss, for Amy, since it's been a tough position to fill.
Yeah, and on that same thought, I spoke with Frank Montecalvo recently up at St. Francis, and I told him I would have you touch base with him in the near future. They do have an athletic trainer program up there, and see if there's any assistance that they may be able to help us out with there.
I will do that. We even went all the way to UPMC Pittsburgh, the contacts over there last time, Kay, and we thought that something was going to be able to be worked out and just never developed. So
yeah, it sounded maybe a little more promising this time. I didn't get into a lengthy discussion with him at the time, but he definitely wanted to reconnect with us on that.
Perfect. I will follow up, Doc.
Thanks, Ed.
Doc, the motion to open, where would we want to put that? I just wanted to give you a heads up.
I believe that goes under discipline and curriculum, if I'm not mistaken. Attorney Willett, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And I prepared a draft motion and sent it to the administration earlier today. We'll have to include the dates and put a phrase, as I understand it, based on the board's discussion, the board is interested in offering the opportunity to students, if they want to return in person as of February 22nd, correct? But there will still be a virtual option for those that don't want to.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm sorry.
Correct?
That's
Okay.
correct.
So do you want me to reword the motion that I sent or read it whenever it's time for the board to take action on that?
I would suggest Attorney Willett read the motion for the board to take action.
Okay. Dr. Mulholland, are you okay with that?
Yep, that sounds good. When we get to the end of discipline and curriculum with Mr. Gates, then you can read, it'll be number 4 on the discipline and curriculum agenda then. That'll be fine. Thanks, Aim. I assume that's okay with you, Mr. Gates, as chairman of the Discipline and Curriculum Committee?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Thanks, Rick. All right. Anybody else have anything for athletics before we move into personnel? Okay. Personnel Committee, Mr. Cree, you're up.
Number 1, consideration to approve a request from employee number 551 for FMLA leave commencing approximately 4/22/21. Number 2, consideration to approve a request from Janet Drees to extend approximately 10 vacation days beyond her anniversary date. Number 3, consideration to approve Catherine Gates to fill our high school science teacher vacancy at a step 1 salary of $41,422 pending receipt of all required paperwork. And number 4, consideration to approve Georgia Rice as a mentor for a new staff member. That is all.
Thank you, Rick. Anybody have any questions or comments in Personnel Committee? Okay, none being heard. There's nothing for Building and Grounds, so Mr. Menser gets the night off.
Doc, can I say something quickly on Building and Grounds?
Well, sure.
HHSDR called this week and they are want to set up a meeting with our admin team and science teachers so they can continue their drawing process. So that they're going to contact us for the next couple of weeks. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, discipline and curriculum, Mr. Gates.
Just a quick comment, Dr. Mahone, before I do my committee business. I had mentioned at our last meeting 2 weeks ago about the possibility of our board being available every 2 weeks to meet, to stay updated on where our school's at with COVID and how things are going. Even if it's not a regular advertised board meeting for the public, I think our board should meet, if everybody's in agreement with it, that we can at least be updated by the administration as to how things are progressing and where they're at, instead of basically hearing it from the public. So.
Actually, I'd like to just go ahead and schedule it as a public meeting.
Okay.
I think that keeps the community involved, so they know where we're at, they know where our heads are at. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. If anybody else have any comment on that, if no objections are heard, then I think we should just go ahead and get that scheduled. You good on scheduling that for us, Patty?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And discipline and curriculum, item 1, consideration to approve the 2021-22 school calendar, the 2/16/21 draft. Number 2, consideration to approve an acknowledgement for health and nursing services with the Greater Altoona Career and Technology Center for district students while in attendance at the Greater Altoona Career and Technology Center. Number 3, consideration to approve a resolution calling for charter school funding reform. And number 4 will be presented by Attorney Willett.
Do you want me to read it now?
Yes, please.
Okay. The motion will be a motion to offer the opportunity to return to full-time in-person instruction for students in grades kindergarten through grade 12 effective February 22nd, 2021, and authorizing the administration to make day-to-day determinations as to opening and closing buildings in response to reported incidents of COVID as per state requirements.
Thank you very much, Aim. Does anybody have any questions or comments under discipline and curriculum?
I'd like to comment on number 3. I'd like to see us move forward with warp speed on that. From what I figured out on the budget, we've spent almost $34,000 between cyber and charter schools last month. So I think it's very important we move forward.
Thank you, Theo. Anybody else have anything under discipline and curriculum? Okay, nothing else being heard. Let's move into finance. Mrs. Dubler.
Looking for consideration on the following items. Number 1, consideration to approve treasurer's report dated 1/31/21. Blue copies attached. Number 2, consideration to approve accounts paid totaling $818,740.11. The pink copies attached. And that's all.
Thank you, Mrs. Dubler. Does anybody have any questions or comments under finance committee business? Okay, none being heard. We will move into transportation. Mr. Gallagher.
Yes, we're looking for consideration for number 1, consideration to approve the specialized route for Reynolds Transportation Company for a student transportation agreement with Penn Cambria School District.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions or comments in transportation?
Yes. Is this required that the school district provides this service?
Yes, this particular student, I can't get too many details, but falls into the McKinley-Vento Act, a homeless student who has to be transported. So we worked in conjunction with a neighboring district to work out this process.
Can I just ask what grade level this child's in?
The grade level. It's a junior, senior high school student.
Okay, anybody else have anything in transportation? All righty, so thank you card was received from the Wallstroms, which I believe you all have in your packets. Also, we have administrative reports. So let's see here. Oh, sorry, I lost my page. I guess we'll start with the elementary report. Mrs. Batcher.
Hello. So just wanted to say I can safely speak for the entire elementary staff that we're very excited to have everyone be returning in full next week. Doing the hybrid was a necessary thing, but not any of our first choice. So it'll be great to have the kids all back in person. Again, the online option will continue to be an option if any parent feels like that is the best thing for their child. All they have to do is let their teacher know, and we can immediately have that set up for them. So that will continue to be an option. We have students who have chosen that as the option all throughout the year. They can continue to do that, and we anticipate that will be an option for the remainder of this school year. Also, we did add one additional substitute to our ranks, which, believe it or not, that one person really gives me a lot of comfort. She's a familiar face to Glendale. Scarlett Peters Tennis is now her married name, so she actually started today. And so I anticipate that she'll be used quite a bit, and that gives us a better feeling for being able to cover our classes as teachers need to be off. So we greatly appreciate that. And that is all.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Batcher. Mr. Stacy, you are up. Secondary report.
I just want to, like we've done before, thank the staff and the administration here for helping us get through a pretty tough couple months here. They've done a great job, and we're really happy. Again, also to have the students come back, I think it's going to make a lot of our lives easier, and I think definitely is a huge boost for the kids as far as their learning goes. And I want to give a shout out to Eric over here for we've been passing out these new Chromebooks, and trying to get with these kids and get their new Chromebooks handed out. and the old ones turned back in, and it's been a difficult process because of snow days and 2-hour delays and hybrid and you name it, but he's really worked with us, and we're finally getting to the end of that process.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stacy. Mr.
Can I
Coe?
ask a question?
Go ahead, Theo, sure.
Okay, I was wondering, the second ending of the marking period, has the scores gone up or have they gone down like we had a lot of failures before? I was wondering how that's coming along.
We have some work to do. I can't say, I think it has gone down a little bit, but we definitely have made some adjustments, and now coming back full-time is going to help us a lot to have interventions with these kids. A lot of it, is just when they're not here, they're not working. So hopefully when they're here, they'll be working better, and we'll be able to fill in some of those holes. So.
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Stacy. Mr. Kozak, secondary report.
I have nothing for the good of the order.
Thank you, sir. Maintenance, Mr. Chilcote.
We've been trying to keep up with the plow and the snow, which has been very difficult because we've been getting pounded several times a week, it seems. Trying to keep all the equipment together and running, which, keeping my fingers crossed, it has been. And I'd like to thank the board for bringing the kids back. We sure do miss them.
Thank you much, Charlie. Mr. McGulick, special ed.
Yes, I just have one comment. Our audit for special ed is officially over, and we're in compliance with all aspects of paperwork and special ed. That's all.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Business managers report, Mr. Westover.
Hi. Yeah, I only have one comment. I agree with Theo. I hope they actually do something with charter school funding this time. I just received an email today, and that is one of Governor Wolf's priorities for charter school reform. Where it'll get to, who knows? It's been there before. The one piece of news on the budget was that they said the initial budget that he has presented is dead in the water, I think was the quotes that they said. So that's not a very good feeling. So I hopefully they work down through that and we can get some revenue numbers early March, early April, somewhere thereabouts. But yes, charter school reform definitely needs done. I just looked at some numbers today, and last year being the 2019-20 school year, Glendale had about $378,000 in charter school expenditures, and this year projected out, it looks like we're going to have probably around $300,000. So that's a nice hunk of change for our school, Glendale size. So I hope they do something on that front. That's all I have.
Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Westover. Theo, I guess you have a question. Go ahead.
Yes, I was wondering, I saw in that form that Cambria County wasn't included on that. If Cambria County, and we're in both counties, if Cambria County is included in on that, would that put more pressure onto getting this passed?
Cambria County was including on the resolutions that are being sent, or what do you mean?
Yes, it had Cambria, I'm trying to think who it is here now. But I knew that
resolution came from IU10, although there are similar resolutions that are being passed by districts in neighboring counties as well that encompass either the district specific cyber charter costs or their IU costs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aim. Thank you, Theo. All right. Technology report, Mr. Frank.
I have nothing.
Excellent. Food services report, Mrs. Sharp.
Good evening. We are doing everything we can to follow the COVID restrictions to keep our costs as low as possible. We welcome the return of the students, and we are striving to nourish all students for 7 days a week. We will still continue to do distributions when we do open fully for Saturdays and Sundays. We will distribute them on Thursday for pickup. And we encourage any parent that needs any special needs to just ask us to make that happen, because we will comply to them. Right now, we are doing 120 breakfasts and 305 lunches with the virtual mode. We are also feeding the VOTEC students who are in a different virtual hybrid.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Sharp. Last but not least, Mr. DeSabato, district report.
Thank you. Mr. Matchup, are you still with us? I wanted you to comment on something when I got to it. Mr. Match. Oh, there he is. All right. Well, he just walked in person, so that's good. So what I wanted to say is, we all realize that we've had some struggles. And our students are going to have some struggles. And we realize that there's going to be some academic issues that we need to address, some mental health, some physical issues, emotional well-being of all our students. And so tonight I asked the board, to just, and I'm not asking for a motion, I'm just asking for a thumbs up on the board's part, that we look at a couple things. One, you give us the ability as an admin team to look at some recent funding opportunities, grant funding, semester funds, and CARES monies that are available. Possibly use them for some summer programs for our elementary students and our high school students. When we look at the specific needs of our kids, ways of helping them transition. First step is getting them back. But there is going to be a learning gap in some situations that's really going to be needed. That might look different in the elementary with some summer programs. In the high school, it may be some summer school, but there are lots of credits. So we really want to take the next month until we get back and really look at some ways that we can help our kids academically meet some things that they're going to be needed from us moving forward. So I just wanted to make sure that the board was supportive. It would not be district funds, it would be grant money that we would look to use creatively to help our students with this learning. That's one. Two, I was approached by the GEA to begin discussions about a possible GEA retirement incentive. Work directly with Mr. Kuster, Attorney Willett, Mr. Westover, and myself to see if we can come up with a retirement incentive that would be acceptable to the board for potential retirees at the end of the school year. And Francine Endler was with us tonight. We do need a CIU representative. I know we may not be able to get that done tonight, but we do need to see if anybody would be available to log on remotely and act as our liaison to the CIU moving forward. And last but not least, when we talk about the academic, mental, physical, Mr. Matchuk's here. Come forward, please, Mr. Matchuk. You can face he just wants to talk a little bit about an idea about, keep coming. An idea through some athletic funds that would help to the athletic part of the physical well-being of our students. Go ahead, Mr. Matchuk.
Yeah, our varsity football coach, Dave Trexler, approached me about having a personal trainer come up to the school and work with the athletes as far as like on a personal strength, weight training program. This guy is a personal trainer from Altoona by the name of Scott Faribault. He's an ex-military Marine. What he would do is come up, show the coaches what to do, the exercises and whatnot. Then he would come up every so often, maybe 1 or 2 times a week, and make sure everything was going all right. And if we would have to go virtual, which I hope we don't, he could still coach the kids through the computer-wise.
And this would be for male and female athletes. This isn't just for one program. This isn't a program across the athletic scope, correct?
Correct, yes.
It's not just for one program. It was brought to our attention by one, but would be for all programs, all student athletes.
And it also has the potential that our faculty could also get involved and get training advice from this personal trainer as well.
And the cost for the, go ahead.
What about other students? Do we have to just limit it to the athletes?
I don't think so.
No.
It would be our employee. The weight and cardio room could develop plans for all student athletes. Yeah.
No, but I mean, not just student athletes. I'm talking students. If you have a student who has an interest in being able to work with a trainer, maybe they don't necessarily play a sport, or they don't necessarily play, baseball, softball, basketball, whatever. Can they be a part of that?
We can put that in, because there's gonna have to be a contract approved. If the board gives us the thumbs up to proceed, we'd get a formal document to you to approve at next meeting. This is just all in developmental stages, but we want to give the person, they're holding the idea and the thought for us, and we can develop what we want, Kay. And the board could put in any requests that we had like that.
Okay, because I think it shouldn't be limited just to the student athletes. I mean, I think that we're talking well-being of all students, and there's you see some of the struggles, and sometimes it's they may not play a team sport, but they may have other interests, and they may have an interest in that.
We can make it happen. And the cost associated with John and the funding?
It would cost $3,000 and it would come out of the athletic budget. And right now we do have enough money in the athletic budget for this to happen this year.
Does anybody have an objection to the admin team developing a proposal for us to look at then? Okay, none being heard. Ed, I think that's the proverbial thumbs up to go ahead and develop something for us to look at then in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Matchuk. Summer program, Scott. Board, do we have authorization to proceed with some ideas for summer programs here as well?
Any objections of anybody? I think that's you're good to work on developing a program there to bring to us as well.
Retirement incentive.
Anybody have any objections to developing that to bring to us? None being heard.
Okay. Last but not least on my list, I want to say that I just want to publicly acknowledge that a number of letters were sent to the board through the office of the superintendent. I forwarded each one of those letters, and for the record, from one to Sheena Dupree, Joe and Renee Luther, Amanda Emmerman, Kevin and Amanda Hollis, Jessica Radcliffe Schweizing, Kate Pino, Frank and Peggy Hutton, Sharon Stiver, Brooks Kaufman, Stephanie Mays, Sarah and Sean Naylor, Amanda Cochran, Brian Cornelius, and Caitlin Morrison were all sent to all board members. And it's just for put on public record, please.
Yes, and I would like to thank the community for the input. I think everyone should be aware that, all these decisions that we've made over these past few months in regards to virtual school versus in person, none of these steps have been taken lightly, and they've been made with the best information that we had, with the best intentions to try to keep everybody as safe as possible, yet bring them back as soon as we could. So I think we've threaded that needle fairly well. It hasn't been easy decisions, but I'm very happy to see the numbers dropping and getting those kids back in school. And like I said, again, I just ask the community, please do your part to keep the school a safe place by, not sending your children in if they're sick, getting them screened if necessary. And just, we want to keep it open. Okay, so Mr. DeSabato, is that all?
That's all I have. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. So at this point, we will open up for public comment. So Eric, how are we handling that this evening?
I have one email. Do you want me to read off the name and what it says?
Certainly.
Okay, it's from Amanda Hamilton, and it says, first of, I think I speak for all parents when I say thank you to the board and administration for the decision to bring back the kids next week. We are beyond thankful for this news. The only concern we all have is how we plan to handle positive cases going forward. Based on how we have handled the last few situations, parents have been frustrated and are concerned going forward. We had an entire grade quarantined for one positive case twice. As you've shared, the reason DOH recommends quarantine is due to close contact. So either we're reporting information incorrectly that 60 kids were a close contact, where 60 kids had 6 feet or less of contact for a solid 15 minutes. Any thoughts? Do we plan to quarantine entire grade levels each time there is a positive case? Thank you in advance for any feedback. We appreciate you taking comments and being able to express our concerns.
I'll open it and then I'm going to turn it over to Georgette. But I will say we have been frustrated with the process and sometimes inconsistent information that gets back to us. But we reached out on February 9th, spoke with Kathleen Catcher, who is Director of Epidemiology through the State Department of Health. I spoke with her myself a couple of times. Georgette and I have had a conference call with her. She has been a tremendous resource to us and is helping us deal and come up with explanations for certain situations. So Georgette, is that, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, so we'll continue to follow what DOH tells us. We report the information to them as they ask the questions, and then they're making the determination on what's going to happen in the classroom. So if I'm free to speak about what happened in the 6th grade, it was each one of the kids had spent a number of days with the person who was positive. So it wasn't just one exposure for 15 minutes, it was multiple days for multiple periods. And that's why DOH considered the whole classroom to be quarantined.
And I think this speaks to what I was saying before, in that we need to try to keep anybody out, at least until we can determine their COVID status. If we have any suspicions, if any of the parents have any suspicions that their child may be ill, then it's crucial that we keep them out so that we don't run into more situations like this. Is there any other public comment, Eric? Are we opening the phone lines? Are we taking requests? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, do you want me to put that Word document up with the email address and the phone number for a couple of minutes? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Please do. Please do. So while he's firing that up, I would also like to take a moment to thank Georgette and the staff for their hard work during all of this. Georgette, you've been great to work with, and I appreciate all the work you've done. You've stayed really on top of all of this, and I appreciate that. Mr. DeSabato, Mr. Stacy, everybody, Mrs. Batcher, everybody, you've all done a great job and should be commended for it. So much appreciation goes to you and the maintenance staff and just everybody. I think everybody's done a great job.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you. So what happens in those situations is we start doing the contact tracing, we send the information on, and then they just tell us the information. Hey, this is what has to happen. We recommend the following. It's not always arbitrarily made here at the district. It's information given back to us. So
yeah, correct. I think people do need to understand that, and this there's all kinds of information flying around these days about things. We don't always. This isn't always an in-house decision. A lot of times, Department of Health is involved. Well, in cases, they're always involved because we report them. So sometimes an unpopular decision may be something that's not an in-house decision, but has been we're obligated to follow because it's a Department of Health regulation or a decision.
And I also think that there's so many. There's a lot of misunderstanding, not just within the community, but in organizations within the community that maybe misinterpret what the guidelines are. And so I think that leads to a lot of the confusion, but everything that we have been doing up to this point we've always followed DOH.
And our new contact says her job is to help us keep school open. And that's what I like to hear, that when we call her with issues, her job is to help us keep school open. So we'll continue to reach out to her directly.
Yes, and I agree with that sentiment. I mean, I think everyone, I can't speak for all the board members, but I think I can. I think all of us want to keep the school open I don't think there's anyone around the table that wants to be, crazy, overly cautious and shut things down in the moment's notice. We all want to keep this place open because we all understand that virtual learning, while better than nothing at all, certainly has a raft of problems to go along with it. I can't imagine having to do it myself when I was in high school. I would not have been very happy about it. So I think it's all of our sentiment that we're going to do everything we can to keep the school open. So anybody out there that has any questions or comments, please feel free to call or email the comment line. We're going to be closing that down here shortly. So if you have any comments, please submit them.
We have one more.
Go for it, mister.
Okay, this is from Pamela Ripple. Good evening, board and administration team. First of all, I want to thank you all for your hard work and dedication to the students and staff. Second, are there any thoughts or discussions on music department concerns for the spring? Thanks.
Well, there still are gathering restrictions in the state, everybody. So we're going to have to limit numbers for athletic events. And I'm not saying we can't, but those will have to be other conversations once we get students here and can continue the day-to-day operation. But Doc, we can talk with the board at another time.
I have talked to both the music teachers too. We've talked about streaming concerts and some things like that. So those conversations have been going or have been ongoing as we've gone through this process. So we'll be glad to continue to talk to them and work things out.
Can I just make a quick comment? I had a parent, so I had some of the, one of the parent groups ask the question that when the school resumes session, can they resume, like a booster meeting, or can they resume a session like that in person? Do we have any answer to that? They could resume outside the school. I don't know what our process is as it relates to inside the school. Do we have a process for that, or are we continuing to have, I think we did a motion previously about not allowing groups or outside groups to meet within in the school. Do we have any answer on that?
I can give you my opinion. Our continuity of education plan said we were going to restrict access to the building until further notice. So the board would have to authorize that. Step one would be getting students back. Step two, we could look at those other outside groups, but I would say not at this time. I mean, until we
can. I mean, our priority is to keep our doors open, and bringing in outside groups, I don't think is a wise idea at this point. That's something
that's what I
entertain down the road, maybe, but not right now.
Yeah, that's what I thought we had already stated, but I couldn't remember. But that was the question that came up. And so, I think that if a booster group wants to meet outside of our doors, they could choose to do that. They could meet at a local restaurant if they wanted to do that, or they could meet someplace else. But at this time, it's not within the corridors of the school.
And we'll have to determine, Dr. Mulholland, when the board would like to reconvene in person, or, we haven't even done that yet. So I'm assuming we want to stay virtual for in the next 2 weeks, but we'll go from there.
I would say we'll do the 1 in 2 weeks. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's actually a lot more convenient for me. I was able to stay and work because I had a lot to catch up on, and this would have been a night that I would have probably been late for the meeting. But instead of being late for the meeting, I actually was able to be here for the interviews and everything. So, but yes, we do need to get back into normal session, because I think in-person meetings are actually a much better thing. So. I think we could shoot for the next regular monthly board meeting, but I think in 2 weeks, let's just do it virtually for now, if that's okay with everybody. I mean, barring something else happening, to make us want to stay virtual in a month. Okay, Eric, do we have any more questions or comments from the public?
Nope, and I will stop it.
We will shut that down. I appreciate everybody's comments, and I appreciate everybody tuning in to us tonight here at WGSD for our every 2-week meeting. So, does anybody else have anything for the good of the order before I call the work session to a close? None being heard, we will close the work session and we will roll directly into the regular monthly meeting. So, I have an announcement of executive sessions that have been held. There was an executive session held on January 19th, 2021 for personnel issues. There was also an executive session held on February 16th, 2021 for personnel interviews. I need a motion to, I'll just make it. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 19th, 2021 work session and regular monthly meeting, as well as the February 2nd, 2021 special meeting for general purposes. So I've made the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gallagher. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. All right, we already did public comment. So let's launch into committee reports. We will start with the athletic committee. Theo, you're up.
I'd like to have consideration to approve the items number 1, 2, and 3 as we're in the work session.
Okay, do we have any questions or comment on athletic committee business? None being heard. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Ooh, second by Mr. Menser. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Personnel committee, Mr. Creed.
Motion to approve items 1 through 4 as previously read in the work session.
Any questions or comments about business under personnel? None being heard. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
I will give Kay that second. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. We had nothing in building and grounds, so we'll move into discipline and curriculum. Mr. Gates.
Motion to approve items 1, 2, 3, and 4 as previously read in the work session.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments on those? Discipline and curriculum. None being heard. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gallagher. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? So carried. Finance committee, Mrs. Dubler.
Motion to approve items 1 and 2 as previously read.
Questions or comments? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cree. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? So carried. Last but not least, transportation committee, Mr. Gallagher.
Consideration to approve item number 1 previously read in the work session.
Okay, questions or comments? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gates. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? So carried. All right, I believe that's it. Does anybody else have anything for good of the order before we make a motion to adjourn the regular monthly board meeting?
Schedule the next meeting, Andy?
Yep, we're going to set it up for 2 weeks, correct, Patty?
Yes, it'll be March 2nd.
Okay, March 2nd, same time, same station, and you'll get it advertised and everything, correct?
Correct. Could we go ahead and do a motion since we did one last meeting?
I make a motion to have a meeting in 2 weeks on whatever date that is.
March 2nd, 2020.
March 2nd. Thank you, Patty. Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gates. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Thank you, Patty. All right, anything else for the good of the order? Again, thank you all to everyone who attended and everyone who tuned in. We'll get you all back together in about 2 weeks. I make a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Dubler. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?